short people, but they say he's gonna be 6'2". And he's already just a ball of muscle at 3, so.
Yeah, it's my son. He's a gentle giant. I keep telling him we should go for basketball and just post people up. And he's like, I don't want to hurt people. I'm like, stop, just get in there and start muscling around. He wants to, like, when we were playing soccer, I called him like he was in orbit, because he'd have the scrum of kids and they'd be moving around with the ball and he would just be running around the outside, like looking and like orbiting the group. Yeah, that was his strategy, but he just didn't want to be confrontational. All right, so we are live streaming. I'm going to stop the recording because it's just duplicative, so we're good there. I don't think anybody's joining us live, but we are live streaming, so that's good. Oh, let's turn that down so there's no feedback. Everybody should have in front of you a copy of the agenda for both of the meetings. There's an IMA meeting and a regular meeting. Let me just make sure that there's nobody waiting in the waiting room in case Mike was joining us. It didn't want to. Come on, Zoom. It disappeared on me. That's really frustrating. One moment. Where did you go, Zoom?
That truck was really real.
Oh, thanks. There it is. Why is it over there? Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll just leave it there and we'll try to keep an eye on if anybody's joining us remotely. So seeing that it is just after 10 o'clock, why don't we get started with the IMA Board of Directors meeting slated for 10. Bill, you are currently our chair in place for Joe Coffey. So if you'd like to get things kicked off, we have a full house.
Okay. Well, let's see, do we have a roll call here? Board members on the IMA or Joe and myself, so Joe's absent. Tom, Mark is here. Chris is here. What's that?
No, but Andrew's here.
Andrew's here. No one get me for that. Troy. And Gary's here. Another members of the board, do we have a quorum?
You do have a quorum.
Maggie's
Yeah, Maggie's here as well. We're just missing Waterville.
Okay. And first we've got Martin, we've got Tom, and we've got Mark here. And the consultants here today. And, so good. Bill. Let's see. So the reading and acceptance of January of last year's minutes.
Yeah, going way back, we had our annual meeting last time. The only business we took care of at that particular meeting was ratifying bond resolutions and for the Albany Municipal Water Authority and City of Cohoes. They were amended bond resolutions for the funding of the Beaver Creek project. So cursory business, if you will, but we still took action to ratify them.
And corrections, anything to note? The numbers? If not, give a motion to accept the minutes. I'll make a motion. Gary, during the second. Mark, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments.
Yeah, we have one appointment before us. City of Cohoes has I'll say rewarded Shane Lewis with an opportunity to join us as a designee, or I'm sorry, yes, as an alternate, right? Let me just make sure I'm reading that correctly. So the paperwork and letter from the Cohoes Mayor's office is provided in the packet. Just requires board action to permit Shane to be a designee or alternate from the City of Cohoes.
Okay, any discussion? I'll make a motion. Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Election of officers.
Yeah, so there's no significant role for officers for the IMA board. If folks want, we can just keep it the same. I can put up the office. I should have put a note in your packet as far as who's who. Really, the only significant role for officer is president, because we don't have any financial business before us.
Yeah, and I think Joe Coffey was following out.
I had not heard that, but if that's, you work with him, so let me go to the IMA board. I can pop that on the screen and show you.
Because he is a senior staff member with Mary, and
Mhm.
it's supposed to be fixed. So other than that, we're
So do we want to elect a new president?
the new president.
Do we have a nomination?
I think Robert's rules, you have to open nominations. or
Oh.
Make a call for nominations.
Okay,
Call for nomination. So
somebody makes a call for nomination, somebody seconds the call.
Well, the chair makes a call for nominations.
Okay.
Any nominations from the floor?
yeah, do we have any nominations before the one vacating position of president?
Any volunteers from the floor? Who's not here?
Oh, you want somebody who's here to be able to call meetings to order.
You nominate Chris, I heard?
No. Okay. We got a nominee.
All right,
This is the lighter that we traditionally, I mean, let me just go. The significant role for the IMA is to coordinate the implementation of the order. The corporation takes care of the operational business and financial responsibilities of the unit that works together. The IMA board is to, if there's an issue with the IMA, if there's an issue with any of the financing, that's the vehicle. That's why we traditionally don't meet very often as an IMA board. Thankfully, we haven't had to amend the order or haven't been significantly smacked around by our regulators. So it isn't a significant amount of work to be the chair of the IMA board. So if people are afraid to step forward because they think it's the same level of work as the corporation, it's not.
Well, if there's no nominations, I would be willing to nominate myself.
All right, it's a nomination for Bill Simcoe to be president of the
Yeah.
IMA board.
Motion.
So such favor. All right.
All in favor? Aye. You're supposed to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Okay, order modification, STCF 03.
Yeah.
Big C, which is really now called Beaver Creek River Project, which actually haven't really not really decided that it has to be a modification
No.
to the order. It's just that we have a request for extension, trying to ask whether that could be requires any form of modification of the order or not. And it seems like DEC is saying anticipating not, or if it does get modified, then it would be less of a deal than involving special counsel and so forth to do that.
In your packet, there's copies of correspondence with the department dating back to July. Communications with them about supply chain or manpower issues related to the facility. Not wholly unexpected that the project is experiencing delays due to those two issues. There's also Bill's provided some financial information about the cost shifts or the project and the project's updated schedule. And there's a very detailed Gantt chart about the status of the project. And then what looks most familiar is there's a certificate of non-compliance, which is attached. The order requires that we certify milestones when we meet them or don't meet them. So it's perfunctory, but the certificate that the community submitted to the department just to codify the fact that we weren't able to meet the date in the order is also presented. From our communications with DEC, mainly through Ryan Waldron, We think they're amenable to a modification request or a forbearance, whichever the department kind of sees as an easier channel for us. I don't think, given our conversations, that there's any cause for concern at the agency level, because they've been so involved in this project and we've been communicating quite well with them. It's not unusual for projects to be running afoul of their deadlines with the way things are working in the economy right now and supply and sourcing issues. So Ryan communicated that they're seeing a volume of these come through the agency. Bill and I met with Mike and Arcadis and CDM yesterday to kind of talk through some of the things. They have some permit modifications that might be necessary because Albany's permit is tied to the construction of the facility and the requirements to do the dosing. And so the strategy Bill's laid out, and Bill, just jump in if you
Well,
at any
basically,
point, but
we submitted a letter December 15th, but Ryan Walton responded back, well, it really should be not a letter from Albany, it really should be a letter from
group.
CDRPC as administrator and be signed off by the other communities. In regard to the consent order, in regard to our speedies permit, that would be a letter from Albany because it's Albany speedies permit.
Mhm.
And then because the completion date for the project on the speedies permit is March of 2022 or March of 2023. What we've discussed has been shifting to that being March of 2024. And that would shift the speedies permit completion date by a year. We're also proposing we would shift the consent order date to the same date.
Right.
Otherwise, right now, Tyler's thinking in their Gantt chart that's to be done and ready for operation in September. But the way things have been slipping, if we moved it to December, there would still be the potential that it would be hard to do it at December date, whereas a March date and be ready for May 2024 for disaffection and so forth. Gives us better. We would still be intending to be holding the contractors to an earlier date and not have their contracts stretch out the consent dates and still be pushing to get the project done. So that's the situation. We have a quarterly meeting today with TDC. We have to decide about whether we're going to edit what we had said in December to state things a little differently. And then have a little bit of two different letters, one for the consent order and speeds for it. And I think, looking at the dollars that have been spent and the commitment that's made, we're nowhere, we're not putting that.
Yeah. You have any questions, comments, concerns, strategy suggestions, and so what we'll do is, as Bill mentioned, put together a letter. Largely, it'll be the copy of the December 15th letter. We'll update some of the dates in regards to the request to DEC. We'll communicate with them today at the quarterly meeting, our plan of action, which they already understand. We've already been in communication about this, how they want this documented. And then once we're on the same page, we'll be able to furnish a memo that each of the communities will sign, and we'll submit it under CDRPC letterhead as administrator. All the communities will sign it. It'll go to DEC, and we'll wait for their response at that point.
So the letter itself or so will be similar to the cert that we signed, or?
Yeah, it'll have a certification element at the bottom because we're requesting to some degree forbearance or a modification of the order that everything we submitted in the letter is accurate.
Any idea on when DEC is going to officially respond to our?
We can fish that question out of them today if we can try. I mean, it'd be nice to have some
It would be
certainty.
that's it.
Stuck in limbo.
I hate to be 6 months down the road and supposedly everybody knows what's happening and whatever, but unless you actually have a response and whatever, people change. I don't want to get stuck.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, let's see what Ryan has to say. Yeah, I guess that depends on the DEC council too.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that concerns me when we get the lawyers involved.
We think we have a good documentation and a good process of communication going forward that it's not necessary. There's no, and I think when we show up with our council, they show up with their council and it becomes like a, we show up at the border looking at each other over
Right.
the wall. But I think in this case, it's pretty amicable as far as understanding where this project is going.
Yeah, particularly considering construction still ongoing. It's not like we've stopped or anything else. We're still making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, we're in the midst of doing the excavation and setting structures over the existing Beaver Creek. So we're trying to build a structure over the top of brick and stone. 18 inches. 540 feet of ground. So once we get past those, we're gonna bring those structures up, and get our odor control into the building. Then we're gonna do a lot better. Into the risks that are involved. And also on the two-way project, we have to be bypassing the whole south point. Yeah, and once you get through that. Yeah, we've just been going back and forth with DC on that, so. That's mentioned in the letter too, because that's part of the whole. Project is, so that was something that EFC insisted on. Mentions throttling, they put it in one of the screens in South Point. At the time, closed off. That rain. It's snowing. Okay, so that's the situation.
Pretty straightforward. No surprises, really, just the method of communication moving forward.
So you have the asterisk like there's a board.
Oh, I think just for the sake of documenting it, we should have a motion to recommend proceeding with communicating with DEC about the modification request or forbearance request, and then that the administrator will put together a letter pertaining to such.
So a motion
I'll
to
make a motion to what he said.
For what he said.
We all in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other business for the IMA.
I don't believe there is any other business.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn then? Mark, do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No, motion carries. Thank you very much. And then we've already passed the 10:15, so I guess we could. Okay, we're gonna the next meeting.
You have to adjourn this meeting?
Oh, yeah, we do need to adjourn. We need a motion to adjourn.
That's what they just did.
Sorry, I thought you voted on something else.
You did it so fast that you
Lightning.
blinked.
Can't zone out at these meetings 1 second.
Let's see, so call the order has got the same people. And first, next order of business is appointments.
Yeah, as you may recall, we have a letter from the city of Coes rewarding Shane Lewis for his service to the city, essentially appointing him to this body as an alternate. So the board needs to ratify that action to accept Shane Lewis's designation as an alternate.
Okay, do I have a motion? Okay, do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Election.
Yes, currently our officers are as follow. We have Bill Simcoe as our president, Chris Wayland is our vice president, Andrew Golden is our secretary, and Tom is our treasurer. So thanks, Mark, for schooling me on the Roberts rules. So at this point in time, we should make a motion to go into nominations period. If there are any desired changes, folks can speak up. I think things are working pretty well. So I as staff, I wouldn't recommend changes unless you guys see the need to make changes, but
I guess.
So I guess the slate of officers as presented is
Yep.
the existing slate of officers. And so the motion would be to elect the slate of officers.
Motion to nominate the existing officers to continue into this current year.
I'll make the motion.
Really?
I'll second it.
Maggie, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
That was a lot quicker than the other one.
It's volunteers. are ready to go.
Yeah. That's the thing about doing a good job. People make you stay doing it. The reward for eating poop is more poop.
The minutes, people look at the minutes and have any comments on the minutes from last month's meeting. If there are any comments, the motion to accept the minutes is presented.
I'll make the motion.
Can we do the second?
I'll second it.
Andrew, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report as of 1/1/23.
Closing out the first quarter of the year, the fiscal year for the corporation. You can see we have 3.5 million in the long-term growth plan completed. As of that date, obviously there's some more invoices submitted today. There have been no bills from the corporate expense yet. This quarter will be processed and submitted at the next meeting. We have $80,000 in the bank, and that nets out to everyone's numbers, and we included in this, and I think Martin will cover the modifications to the
Mhm.
agreements that were made earlier at the FC. If you look at the community balance report on page 2, you'll see that it's included there in the separate column. Any questions?
So we've been working with EFC to go into the long-term financing, first tranches of financing, and that's leading to some adjustments as we work through.
Yep.
What shares for, what, some work that was not intended to be shared with most of the communities, potentially some adjustments that the questions. So, any questions on the financial report? If not, we'll move to vendor invoices.
Yep, we received a series of invoices from the communities. A series of invoices from Troy relating to engineering work for Polk Street for $143,700. I believe that completes the invoicing from that particular project. We're waiting on their construction invoices to be submitted to the corporation. And then for Van Buren, for some of the design work, as Van Buren is still undergoing its design phase, $103,600 in invoices there. We did receive an invoice from Weston Company for the remainder of their audit. That would be $5,000. That would bring us up to the $9,250, I believe, of their audit costs. And then we received an invoice from the city of Cohoes for Arcadis's work related to Columbia Street, which is $30,169.
So, do we have a motion to pay?
I'll make the motion.
Gary, do you second? Andrew, all in favor? So, yeah, some of those invoices in regard to Cohoes and Troy projects, because of some of those things are on Albany's financing. We're talking to the EFC later this month about financing, which includes the stuff for Columbia Street and Main Street, Polk Street, so whatever can get included into our files and maybe SharePoint files. We're trying to tidy up to what is it? I know that our tranche of financing is supposed to have a maturity in September. And I know your Fleet Street project maybe I know it won't go to September, but they try to collect all the,
Right.
they try to it may be that you can't see what extent of maturity that we're still working to extend, like all the costs get to that.
They're actually, Newcastle's actually out there working from it. Where, we have told them numerous times that as far as we're concerned, they got a like June 15th deadline in this contract. We're not gonna be extending it considering the police the entire construction season. So they've got to get it done. Which may be one reason why they're out there jerking around with that. That's the scientific term.
Well, that's, I guess that's the one. I think that might, pulls out. Some of the engineering costs like, you're in Polk Street, we had this our first tranche. of financing. I know Chris was, trying to, resolve some invoicing things to see. So, community reconciliation is our next.
Yeah, so Tom had illustrated it with the financial report. I prepared a memo just to describe the process for the reconciliation relating to Hoosick Street, Monument Square, and Cross Street. As we've discussed at last meeting, circumstances such as the bidding of projects or grant income for those particular projects have necessitated a conversation between communities about their proportionate shares for those projects. So under this reallocation, communities will be responsible for 100% of those costs. So for example, for these three projects, did I miss one? I missed one, didn't I? Oh, no, because I wrote it down a separate column. Why did I miss Quail Street? I'm sorry. Did I miss Quail Street? Oh, City of Troy. Oh, no, I have it in, I'm sorry, I'm looking for a bullet point, but there's no need for a bullet point because it's one project. Sorry. So City of Troy has three projects that would become 100% community obligation. City of Albany has one project that would become 100% community obligation. On the next pages, as Tom had alluded to in the financial report, we have projections of those cost impacts for those particular projects. The corporation would simply change the way we've booked them. And what would happen is communities that have already processed payment for those projects, we would reconcile those amounts and credit or issue a payment back to those communities. For those communities that haven't paid them, we would adjust their community balance accordingly. So what we would request is just a board action to accept the reconciliation. And then at the next meeting, if there are cash obligations that need to take place, we can authorize those payments back to the communities.
And if you refer to the very back page, where you see the individual construction block and how they are allocated by line.
Any questions? The Quail Street, we had the grants. Albany had done more scope than really was called for in terms of trying to make a larger storm than the original. So we said the grant would cover the project. But there was a portion that we were still financing under our financing, but not split into the shares for the purpose. And I think on Troy's projects, it is a matter that couldn't make the cost eligible.
Yeah. So to the term of the IMA, projects need to be eligible to be shared costs, since two of the communities are relying on financing. So.
And the Monument Square project was really less than budgeted in the long term.
Yeah.
So it was
Grant funded. So just an add, what I would request just to make sure we're documenting these changes is a motion by the board to accept the reconciliation.
I'll make a motion. Thank you.
All right.
Gary. Second? Maybe all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
disbursements and reconciliations, is that?
Yeah, related to EFC. We submitted a massive spreadsheet that was a pain in the butt because it was locked in a lot of places to EFC. The top they had locked like all the rows, and then the bottom was like this. It was agonizing to go through, but essentially what we did with a lot of heavy lifting by Bill and Jessica and was to go through each line item by item for the 0-0 financings for City of Troy and City of Albany and make sure that EFC had the correct costs. And then both on the cost side, and then we duplicated that effort on the grant side. And the exercise was most important to be able to make sure that Troy and Albany were able to maximize the grant money that came with it. So folks recall there was a percentage of grant, 25% grant tied to that. So we wanted to maximize the amount we drew down. So we went back and forth itemizing invoices from back to the development of long-term control plan, and then ultimately decided it wasn't necessary to go for the grant. So in Chris's words, he didn't want to buy the house twice and he wasn't going to submit for the LTCP. So I think because Albany was able to maximize their grant.
But it's really, the complication was the contract that was tied to the joint venture team's contract. All was, tied to the original development of the long-term control plan and that extra work orders.
Right.
Yeah, and so they wanted to still be citing the original contract. And then the way the grant funding went with estuary grant and DOS grant and what grant went with which contract and which tasks with each engineering part, gets to be such a nightmare of different line items. EFC seems to be taking an approach now that, okay, even though there's all these line items of things, they're really just going to be looking at the gross numbers of expenses, subtract the gross amounts of grants, and come up with the financing, and then they'll decide to audit some part of the detail in some of the expense part. But I guess they've already decided in the future they're no longer going to have all these different line items for engineering. They were making a line item of any task that engineers were having on their proposals. And that is making so many lines.
It's making life difficult for everybody. It was a shared headache experience.
So finally, to come to a conclusion with this first tranche for all the Troy, they gave us a deadline of 15 to. They gave us a spreadsheet with their numbers in it. They asked us to put
Our numbers in.
numbers in and get it back to them by the 15th, and we gave it back.
So knock on wood, everything works.
So in other words, making it very painful for everyone and resulted in a much easier potential
Yeah.
for next time.
Trauma brings people together.
Obviously.
So what I think that's really good is we know exactly what Albany and Troy need to draw down on and close these things out and get their money and go home.
And we wanted to make sure that the CWSRF grant money would be utilized and
Not wasted.
on the table.
So I think we're in good shape. There's a couple projects. I think there's 5 or 6 projects that they're still holding up. A couple of Troy's, for example.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, there's several $1 million that engineering grants. So
So
they gave us this table and asked us to fill it in, but at the bottom of it, there was still a bunch of things with engineering grants.
So we kind of mentioned to them that like there's still balls in their court that they need to get at if we want to draw down on this and close things out. And we don't really know what the holds are for right now.
There's no easy button.
But that's where things stand.
So, project updates. They're pretty well along.
Things are moving along. I did want to mention to Andrew, bring back to Chris, in regards to Polk and Van Buren, if there seems to be some good opportunity for some WQIP funding, I'd be more than happy and excited to write grant applications so we can get some WQIP to balance against those and reduce everybody's costs. I've done that for Monument Square and for the Regulators Project.
Okay.
So I'm happy to continue to do that and drive costs down. You already have I know Chris doesn't like the paperwork obligations, but he already has the obligations because of EFC.
Okay.
So DEC's, 75% off the top is pretty good.
Okay.
And I know that DEC really wants applications to fill
Yeah,
that
you're
program.
Very likely to get $1 million WQIP grants. So, Bibles, because
Yeah.
the Senate is expecting.
And if they're gonna put the camel through the needle's eye with the EFC, they might as well go for WQIP, which is easier.
Okay. All right, I will relay that information.
So, yeah, Beaver Creek, we talked about, Gary, you talked a little bit about Main Street. Plumbing is pretty much done last time. We met.
Well, yeah, well, there's still restoration, whatever, so, so they've still got work to do in the springtime. But, the pipes are in the ground. It's actually working pretty well because with the rainfall, it's fantastic.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's beneficial.
oh, yeah,
It survived December's mess on the 23rd.
so, as soon as the asphalt plants open up and we get some halfway decent weather, then they'll be back in for the road, mill and fill, and the sidewalks and the curb and getting the plantings done and stuff like that. So, Lead Street, which is Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail Green Infrastructure Project. We gotta shorten these titles. Yeah, Newcastle is currently working. They're doing some earthwork, they're excavating it. And they've got, some sewer camera work that they could have done, but they're doing it now. So, fortunately, the subcontractor that they've got is one that the city has used. So, that's going on pretty good. And their boring contractor is supposed to be on site to, do one of the bores. Well, I think the latest is that it's gonna be in the next couple of weeks that she's gonna show up and take a look and see where to put the boring pits. So they're working. We're, like I said, we've already told them that they shouldn't be coming in for any sort of time restriction. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you're doing an RFP for your other projects, so
Yes,
meet our requirements for the
matter of fact,
federal
yeah,
RFP. Watching.
yeah, because I gotta do that because the 2 engineering grants that we've got, there's that provision, so unofficially, Mike and Rob are giving me a hand to write up an RFP that we'll put out and
Good, so. Good. That's a couple of good projects. If you're doing that program,
correct.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention about Beaver Creek, which is sort of exciting, is there's now a stairway. Before, the building was pretty much set, but you had to go down a 15-foot ladder.
Yeah.
Now they found, if you went there, you could walk down and walk along.
Oh,
The working level inside. So,
yeah,
make a little bit better visits. For those who don't like the climb ladders.
well, it's probably easy getting down.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
And how's, Dan Buren was gonna go out to bid, is that,
Yeah, I think Chris mentioned they're waiting for the few DEC comments, I think for Van Buren, and then Oak Street's done and waiting for the last couple of construction.
Yeah, he was meeting with Louise yesterday.
Yes, yeah. I wonder how that went. haven't seen these things.
Maybe it didn't go that well, or maybe it went really well. It just-
So I think that's it for projects. What, do we have any other business? Everybody's got their annual reports to do this month.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah.
The new format. The new format.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm gonna bitch a little bit. I don't know why they keep on asking about the long-term control plan projects. And what ones are done and what ones we intend on doing. When.
They have it. They have it.
CRPC, we do 2 reports a year. Look at the reports,
Would you put it on that form?
but it's mind-boggling. And then when you go in their comments, you can only put in X amount of characters. So you can't even finish if you end up having a lot of them. You can't finish what they're asking for.
In that case, I suggest and
Yeah. See,
see the website. We put everything
Well,
online,
Just put a hyperlink to CDRPC's report. It's a report.
website. All of our reports, project schedules,
right,
financials, meeting minutes, audit results, the results of the sampling program, it's all on the website. It's a project I'm actually most happy about because it keeps everything in one place.
yeah.
They did the same thing with the PPP stuff.
They'll ask you the name of the project, and they'll say you can use 500 characters, and then they'll ask you to describe the project, and say you can use 2.
Clean water.
Yeah, and I guess, anybody that's using Grants Gateway, that they're going to do away with Grants Gateway.
Moving to the SFS.
Oh,
So
no.
there'll be something.
You thought the
new.
Grants Gateway was bad.
Yeah. I started to write my head around that one, now it's big.
Oh, wait, we're still live streaming. It's just fine.
Uh, So I don't know about other folks, but we've been getting bill financing on a bunch of projects that we're taking on the PNC. We're doing tide gates, new tide gates for our Beaver Creek outfall. And that project is going. So. We're doing some drinking water projects. And so that's nice. I guess going into it, I wasn't sure how I was working with WIA money and bill money, but they're applying both. Both WIA and bill. If you're successful with your WIA application, you can also put the BL. We were not successful in our drinking. Well, we had WIA on this one drinking water thing, and we had on top of it. Other drinking water ones we applied for 2022 didn't get the, but I guess there's a potential of getting BIL even if you don't get it, so it's. So go for everything. Yeah, because depending on how much money is going out, how many projects are ready, and how much money the state wants to get pushed through, this is the time to be looking for money. So other than that, is there any other business? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion. Okay, thanks, Gary. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Don't forget to take a motion to adjourn.
Anyone else planning on attending the meeting with DEC later this afternoon? I'll send you a copy of the agenda.
That's a virtual.
Yeah, virtual. Yeah, you can do it from the comforts of your own wherever. All right. I'll send it to you, Gary, just in case.
Don't forget to stop the stream.
Oh, I send it to, I'll send it to Shane.